The Young and the Restless spoilers. Will Victor finally face defeat as Jack and Cain team up? The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates prompt us to consider, is it finally time for Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, to face defeat? Get updates on the latest news about The Young and the Restless, straight to your inbox. We use your personal data for interest-based advertising, as outlined in our privacy notice. What is this? Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, and Cain Ashby's, Billy Flynn, new strategy might significantly alter the course of the story, depending on how things unfold from this point onward. The CBS soap has an abundance of business stories where Victor wins. The Young and the Restless certainly delivers plenty of business stories, so Victor and Newman Enterprises are often involved, as a matter of fact, nearly always. Those stories tend to be rather dull since the outcome is always the same: Victor wins all over again, and no one else ever has a chance. There's no real excitement if Victor emerges victorious every time. We get that Victor is a powerful guy, but he could stand to lose occasionally. Even if just to shake things up and give the mustache a reason to strike back even harder. Victor's new alliance with Jack presents an interesting opportunity. What is this? Nikki will voice her concerns about Victor using the truce to hurt Jack. In the episode airing on September 29th, Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, will express her worries about the chance of Victor manipulating Jack's olive branch to harm him. However, the real twist might occur if the situation is reversed. What if Jack finds a way to leverage this partnership to target Victor? Jack understands that this alliance is merely a temporary arrangement, so he must be ready for Victor to turn into a genuine adversary once more. This ceasefire is unlikely to endure, so Jack will remain aware of that, even while they collaborate against Cain. Both Victor and Jack will be optimistic that by involving Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, she can sway Cain and guide him towards a less malevolent direction. Might Jill convince Cain to join forces with Jack, and Victor suffers defeat? This could put Cain at risk of whatever bad news Jack and Victor are planning to unleash on him next. The scheme might succeed to some extent, but Jill still carries the last name Abbott and has an unbreakable bond to the family through her son, Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson. In other words, Jill could ultimately find herself siding with Team Abbott and persuade Cain to ally with Jack. What is this? This could be Jack's opportunity to catch Victor off guard with a new partnership and throw his oldest rival into disarray. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Will Victor finally face defeat as Jack and Cain team up? In Genoa City, power is everything. Loyalty, betrayal, and ambition have defined the lives of its most influential families, and none more so than the Newmans and the Abbotts. At the center of it all, Victor Newman has reigned supreme for decades, building an empire not only of wealth but also of control. But in the latest twists on The Young and the Restless, fans are beginning to wonder whether Victor's iron grip might finally be slipping. Could it be possible that Victor will face the kind of defeat he has always managed to avoid? And even more shocking, could that downfall come at the hands of an unlikely duo, Jack Abbott and Cain Ashby? For longtime fans, the mere thought of Jack and Cain joining forces is a game-changer. Jack Abbott has always been Victor's greatest rival, the man who has spent years locked in a cycle of revenge, betrayal, and temporary truces with the formidable Newman patriarch. Their rivalry is legendary, one of the most enduring storylines in soap opera history. But for Jack, the battle has rarely been about business alone. It has always been deeply personal, rooted in years of Victor undermining the Abbott family, humiliating Jack, and crushing his dreams whenever the opportunity presented itself. Cain Ashby, on the other hand, is not a name often tied to Victor Newman's battles. Cain's history in Genoa City has been filled with its own twists, secrets about his identity, complicated romances, betrayals, and attempts at redemption. He has been both hero and villain, depending on the season, and while he has often remained on the fringes of the Newman-Abbott war, Cain knows what it means to be underestimated. His recent struggles and his determination to carve out his own legacy make him a wild card. Now imagine the shockwaves if Jack and Cain decide to align against Victor. Spoilers tease that the pieces are already being put into place for this explosive development. Victor has been tightening his grip on his children once again, making moves that alienate them in the process. Adam feels betrayed, Nick remains skeptical of his father's intentions, and Victoria is once again finding herself suffocated by Victor's control. While Victor has always managed to use manipulation and strategy to pull his children back in line, the cracks are beginning to show. The Newmans may be powerful, but they are also fractured. That opens the door for enemies to strike, and Jack is no stranger to finding opportunities when Victor shows weakness. Jack's latest arc has focused on his determination to protect Jabot and his family at all costs. With Diane by his side, Jack feels re-energized and ready to fight back against anyone who dares to threaten his loved ones. But there is always the lingering shadow of Victor. No matter what Jack builds, Victor has a way of tearing it down. Spoilers suggest that Jack may finally decide enough is enough. The idea of victory over Victor has always been just out of reach for him, but with the right ally, the impossible could suddenly become achievable. That's where Kane comes in. Kane has been on a redemption path, struggling to prove that he still belongs in Genoa City's power structure. His connections to Jill and Chancellor Winters give him a foothold, but Kane has lacked the clout to truly make a comeback. Aligning with Jack would give him not only an opportunity for revenge but also a chance to restore his name as a legitimate force in the business world. Kane has always had an ambitious streak, and when he sees an opening, he's not afraid to take it. Together, Jack and Kane could create a partnership that combines Jack's deep-rooted vendetta against Victor with Kane's willingness to take risks. The pairing is unexpected enough to catch Victor off guard, which may be exactly what they need. Historically, Victor has been able to predict and counter Jack's moves because their rivalry follows a familiar pattern. But throw Kane into the mix, and suddenly the rules change. Kane doesn't play the same kind of chess game that Jack does. He operates in gray areas, willing to manipulate and scheme in ways that even Jack sometimes resists. This could prove to be the unpredictable edge Jack has been missing all these years. Fans are buzzing about what this potential alliance could mean. Would Jack really trust Kane, a man who has often been viewed as self-serving and opportunistic? Could Kane truly commit to a partnership without betraying Jack at the first sign of trouble? That uncertainty may be part of what makes the storyline so compelling. On soaps, the best alliances are the ones that are fragile, built on mutual need but always teetering on the edge of betrayal. For Victor, the looming threat of Jack and Kane's partnership would be more than a nuisance, it could be catastrophic. If they managed to strike at Newman Enterprises during a vulnerable moment, Victor's empire could sustain damage unlike anything he has faced before. Imagine the fallout if the great Victor Newman were to suffer public humiliation or a devastating business loss orchestrated by two men he has always dismissed as beneath him. But perhaps the most intriguing element is what defeat would even look like for Victor. Over the decades, viewers have seen him outmaneuver every rival, recover from every setback, and return stronger than ever. Victor's defeats are always temporary, serving as setups for his eventual resurgence. Yet spoilers hint that this time might be different. Could this storyline be the beginning of Victor's long-awaited downfall? Or is it merely another chapter in the endless cycle of power struggles, one that will ultimately end with Victor standing tall again? What makes this storyline especially juicy is the personal toll it could take. If Jack and Kane score a victory, even a small one, it could embolden others in Genoa City who have long lived under Victor's shadow. Adam could use the opportunity to assert his independence once and for all. Victoria might finally break free from her father's control. Even Nikki, who has always loved Victor despite everything, could start to question whether his relentless pursuit of dominance is worth the collateral damage. For Jack, the payoff would be personal satisfaction and validation that after all these years, he could finally beat Victor at his own game. For Kane, it would mean redemption and a chance to re-establish himself as a player in the business world. And for Victor, it would be a rare moment of vulnerability, one that could shake his reputation as an untouchable titan. Of course, this being Genoa City, fans know that any victory over Victor will not come easily. He has survived corporate takeovers, personal betrayals, near-death experiences, and countless schemes. To truly topple Victor, Jack and Kane would need not only strategy but also impeccable timing and a bit of luck. Spoilers tease that their alliance may hinge on exploiting a major mistake by Victor, something that leaves him exposed in a way no one expects. As this storyline unfolds, viewers will be on the edge of their seats, wondering if this is finally the moment when Victor Newman faces the kind of defeat that changes everything. Will Jack and Kane's team-up mark the beginning of a new power shift in Genoa City, or will Victor once again prove that no one, not even his greatest rivals, can keep him down for long? The CBS soap has an abundance of business stories where Victor wins. When it comes to daytime television, few characters have dominated the boardroom, the battlefield, and the art of manipulation quite like Victor Newman on CBS's long-running soap opera The Young and the Restless. For decades, Victor has been the towering force behind Newman Enterprises, a man who not only thrives on competition but relishes it, often crushing anyone who dares to stand in his way. His reputation as the ultimate corporate warrior is so entrenched that fans often joke about the futility of challenging him. Time and time again, Genoa City has witnessed stories of hostile takeovers, business betrayals, strategic acquisitions, and backroom deals that leave rivals flattened while Victor walks away with another victory. It has become a recurring theme on the soap, a reminder that when it comes to business plots, Victor almost always wins. But why has this particular storytelling device become such a cornerstone of The Young and the Restless? And more importantly, does it still serve the show in the modern era, or is it time for a new wave of corporate storylines that allow others to triumph? The answer lies in both the legacy of Victor's character and the way CBS has structured its narratives over the years. Victor Newman, portrayed by Eric Braeden since 1980, was not designed to be just another character. He was crafted to be an empire builder, the kind of man whose willpower and cunning could intimidate everyone around him. From his early days as the ruthless tycoon to his later years as the complicated patriarch, Victor has always been a symbol of victory. The CBS soap leaned heavily on this image, creating an archetype that merged personal drama with corporate conquest. Every time a rival, whether Jack Abbott, Catherine Chancellor, Brad Carlton, Tucker McCall, or even his own children, dared to cross him, the audience already knew the likely outcome. Victor might stumble temporarily, but his ultimate triumph was all but assured. Business plots are notoriously difficult to balance on daytime television. Viewers want the excitement of corporate intrigue but also the emotional punch of family betrayals and romantic entanglements. The Young and the Restless has found its sweet spot by intertwining Victor's business victories with deeply personal consequences. When Victor defeats someone in the boardroom, it's rarely just about stocks or corporate control. It's about proving dominance, asserting loyalty, or teaching his enemies, often family members, a painful lesson. The soap has cultivated an abundance of these stories, giving audiences decades of Victor-centric plots that reinforce his status as the king of Genoa City. Consider his legendary battles with Jack Abbott. The rivalry between Newman Enterprises and Jabot Cosmetics has fueled countless storylines, many of which end with Victor finding a way to outmaneuver Jack. Even when Jack scores temporary wins, securing a deal, stealing talent, or plotting a corporate ambush, Victor's counterattack is usually swift and devastating. Fans can recall instances when Victor seized control of Jabot, humiliated Jack, or forced him into desperate bargains that eroded his pride. The dynamic has always been compelling because Jack embodies the eternal underdog, a man who fights valiantly but never quite manages to slay the dragon. And yet, despite the predictability, viewers remain glued to the screen, invested in how Victor will outwit his opponent this time. CBS has long understood that Victor's victories are not just plot devices but audience magnets. There is a certain satisfaction in watching the patriarch wield his power with such skill. For loyal fans, it is part of the comfort of tuning in, knowing that no matter the chaos, Victor will eventually reassert control. His victories are both a reassurance and a spectacle. But this abundance of "Victor always wins" storylines raises questions about balance. When one character is consistently positioned as the victor, others are often left diminished. Business stories in soaps work best when the stakes feel real and when any side could come out on top. With Victor, however, the odds are almost always stacked in his favor. This has created a narrative pattern where characters like Jack, Ashley, Nick, or even Adam repeatedly lose ground, only to regroup and try again, often with the same outcome. Kane Ashby's past ventures into the world of high-stakes business also fell prey to this cycle. Though ambitious and savvy in his own right, Kane never stood a chance against Victor's calculated dominance. Time and again, rivals underestimate Victor, only to pay the price when he swoops in with the perfect move at the perfect time. Fans may grumble at times about the predictability, but they also tune in precisely because they expect Victor's inevitable triumph. It is part of the DNA of The Young and the Restless. Yet as soaps evolve, the question becomes whether CBS should lean less heavily on this abundance of Victor-centric business stories. The younger generation of characters, like Kyle Abbott, Summer Newman, Devin Hamilton, and Claire Grace Newman, represent fresh opportunities for power struggles. If Victor continues to overshadow every business plot, these characters risk stagnation. Spoilers suggest that there may be upcoming arcs where Victor's victories are not as absolute, where his age and overconfidence could lead to cracks in his armor. The potential for defeat, or at least vulnerability, could reinvigorate the storytelling. Imagine the shock if Jack finally pulled off a long-term win, or if Adam successfully wrestled control away from his father without being immediately crushed. These kinds of twists would not only surprise audiences but also add depth to Victor's character, showing him as a man who must adapt to a changing business world. For now, though, CBS continues to lean into what works. Business stories remain one of the soap's strongest staples, and Victor remains the master of that arena. His presence ensures that boardroom drama never feels dull, because his victories are not merely about paperwork and contracts, they are about pride, revenge, family loyalty, and the high-stakes battles that define Genoa City. When Victor wins, the ripple effects touch every corner of the canvas, sparking new romances, rivalries, and alliances. The abundance of Victor's victories may frustrate some viewers, but it also keeps the show anchored to its history. After all, The Young and the Restless has built its identity on legacy characters and their enduring influence. Victor Newman's role as the perennial winner is both a tribute to that history and a challenge for the writers who must constantly find new ways to make his dominance exciting. Perhaps the secret lies in the nuance of his victories. While Victor almost always comes out on top, the costs he pays along the way, whether losing the trust of his children, straining his marriage to Nikki, or alienating potential allies, ensure that the stories never feel entirely one-sided. Even when he wins, there is always fallout, always a new enemy made, always another battle around the corner. That is what keeps viewers hooked, eager to see whether this time, just maybe, Victor's victory will come at too high a price. As the CBS soap continues to evolve, fans will no doubt see more business stories where Victor reigns supreme. It is part of the show's DNA, a reflection of both Eric Braeden's commanding performance and the audience's enduring fascination with watching. Nikki will voice her concerns about Victor using the truce to hurt Jack. In the tangled, high-stakes world of Genoa City, relationships are often just as treacherous as business deals, and nowhere is this more evident than in the ongoing saga of Victor Newman. The patriarch of the Newman family has spent decades establishing himself as the undisputed king of both his empire and the drama that surrounds it. Yet even a man as formidable as Victor cannot escape the scrutiny of those closest to him, particularly his devoted wife, Nikki. Spoilers reveal that Nikki will soon take a bold stand, voicing her concerns about a truce that Victor has recently negotiated with his longtime rival, Jack Abbott. At first glance, a truce might seem like a sign of maturity, a momentary pause in the decades-long battle between Newman Enterprises and Jabot Cosmetics. But Nikki knows her husband well. She understands that Victor's agreements are rarely altruistic and that every move is designed to solidify his power or undermine someone he perceives as a threat. Nikki's concerns are rooted in the fear that Victor could use this truce not as a genuine reconciliation but as a strategic weapon to hurt Jack, perhaps in subtle, insidious ways that could have long-lasting consequences. Nikki's role in this unfolding drama cannot be underestimated. She has often served as the moral compass for Victor, the voice of reason who tempers his more ruthless impulses. While Victor has always been a master manipulator, Nikki's influence has historically been one of the few factors capable of moderating his actions, reminding him of the human cost behind his relentless pursuit of victory. Her decision to speak out about the truce signals a rare moment of open conflict within the Newman household. Fans can anticipate heated discussions, emotional confrontations, and perhaps even clashes that test the strength of Nikki and Victor's marriage. Her objections are likely to focus not just on the fairness of the truce but on the potential fallout for Jack, a man who has been both a nemesis and a long-term fixture in Genoa City's business landscape. The tension in this storyline is amplified by the history of the Victor-Jack rivalry. Their battles are legendary, spanning decades of corporate warfare, personal betrayals, and relentless competition. Any truce between the two is inherently precarious, as both men are known for their cunning, strategic minds, and willingness to exploit weaknesses. Nikki's intervention adds an extra layer of complexity. She is acutely aware that Victor's mind is always calculating several moves ahead, and a seemingly simple truce could be a setup for a devastating blow. For viewers, the intrigue lies in the question of whether Victor will heed Nikki's warnings or allow his desire for dominance to overshadow his marriage. Nikki's influence has not always been enough to sway Victor, but this storyline presents an opportunity to explore how their relationship has evolved over time. It also provides a fresh angle on the corporate scheming that dominates the young and the restless. Beyond the personal dynamics, this plotline has major implications for the business landscape of Genoa City. Jack Abbott is not merely a personal rival, he is a shrewd businessman who has spent years defending Jabot against Victor's aggressive tactics. If Victor uses the truce to undermine Jack, even subtly, it could trigger a series of corporate maneuvers, boardroom betrayals, and financial gambits that impact multiple characters. Nikki's foresight and moral stance may serve as an early warning, potentially averting disaster or at least softening its impact. The stakes are further heightened by the ripple effect this truce could have on the Newman and Abbott families. Victor's children are often caught in the crossfire of his battles, and Nikki is likely aware that any harm to Jack could indirectly affect her own family. The emotional weight of her concerns adds a human element to what might otherwise be a purely strategic storyline, reminding viewers that soap opera drama is as much about heart as it is about power. Moreover, Nikki's willingness to voice her concerns marks a moment of agency that fans have long celebrated. She is not content to sit idly by while Victor orchestrates his plans, she is actively engaging with the moral implications of his actions. This makes for compelling television, as viewers watch a character with a history of grace and resilience navigate the complex dynamics of love, loyalty, and ethics in a world dominated by ambition and manipulation. As the storyline unfolds, audiences can expect a series of tense conversations, private confrontations, and potentially explosive public moments. Nikki's warnings may be dismissed, challenged, or even ignored, but her voice introduces a moral counterbalance that has been a hallmark of her character. It also sets the stage for unforeseen twists. Could Nikki's intervention prevent Victor from executing a particularly cruel strategy against Jack? Or might her concerns inadvertently provoke Victor to act out of stubbornness, demonstrating the classic tension between love and power that has defined their marriage for years? The storyline is rife with dramatic possibilities. Soap operas thrive on the unexpected, and the combination of personal stakes, corporate intrigue, and moral conflict makes Nikki's objections to Victor's truce a perfect vehicle for high drama. Her concerns may inspire other characters to take sides, creating alliances and rivalries that extend beyond the central conflict. Family members, business associates, and even former adversaries may become entangled in the fallout, leading to cascading effects that shape the narrative for weeks, if not months. Furthermore, the emotional resonance of Nikki's stance cannot be understated. Fans have long connected with her as a character who embodies compassion, intelligence, and resilience. Watching her confront Victor over the potential misuse of a truce allows viewers to see a side of her that is both strong and vulnerable, balancing loyalty to her husband with a commitment to fairness and decency. It is a reminder that even in a world of cutthroat business maneuvers and relentless ambition, moral clarity and human concern remain powerful forces. The story also promises to explore the tension between strategic calculation and ethical responsibility. Victor's brilliance as a businessman has always been intertwined with his ability to manipulate and dominate, but Nikki's presence introduces the question of whether victory is worth the moral cost. Can Victor achieve his goals without betraying the trust and love of those closest to him? Nikki's warnings challenge him to consider this, offering a narrative opportunity to delve into the complexities of power, loyalty, and conscience. Spoilers suggest that viewers will witness a series of confrontations that test the limits of Victor and Nikki's relationship. From private discussions in the Newman mansion to potential confrontations in the boardroom, the drama is set to unfold across multiple fronts. Each interaction will serve to heighten tension, build suspense, and reinforce the stakes for every character involved. Ultimately, Nikki's voice represents more than just a warning to Victor. It embodies the moral heartbeat of the young and the restless, a reminder that even amidst relentless ambition and power struggles, ethical considerations and personal integrity remain central to the drama. Her willingness to speak out. Might Jill convince Kane to join forces with Jack, and Victor suffers defeat? Genoa City is no stranger to twists, betrayals, and high-stakes power plays, but recent spoilers suggest that fans of The Young and the Restless are in for one of the most explosive corporate storylines yet. The question on everyone's mind, could Jill Abbott, the shrewd and determined Jabot matriarch, convince Kane Ashby to join forces with Jack Abbott, and in doing so, finally deliver a major defeat to Victor Newman? For decades, Victor has been portrayed as nearly untouchable, a man who bends every situation to his will, crushing rivals both in business and in personal affairs. His long-standing rivalry with Jack Abbott has provided countless storylines filled with cunning strategies, hostile takeovers, and subtle manipulations. Yet, even the mighty Victor has vulnerabilities, and the possibility that Jill could orchestrate a partnership between Jack and Kane introduces a new and unpredictable element to the saga. Jill Abbott has always been one of the most formidable characters in Genoa City, combining business acumen with a deep understanding of people. Her ability to anticipate motives, manipulate circumstances, and influence key players has repeatedly altered the landscape of corporate warfare in the city. In recent storylines, Jill has been positioned to observe both Victor and Jack with a strategic eye, noticing the cracks in Victor's armor and the potential in Kane as an ally. Kane Ashby, for his part, has always been a wild card in Genoa City's complex tapestry. With a past that includes hidden identities, personal scandals, and moments of both heroism and misjudgment, Kane is a character who can swing a storyline in unexpected ways. His loyalty has often been questioned, but his desire for redemption and influence in business makes him an ideal candidate for Jill's persuasion. The idea of Jill convincing Kane to team up with Jack is a masterstroke of strategic thinking. Kane's strengths, his experience, ambition, and willingness to take calculated risks, complement Jack's relentless drive for justice and victory. Together, they could pose a threat to Victor that he has not encountered in decades, a challenge combining foresight, strategy, and personal motivation. For Victor, this scenario is fraught with danger. While he has faced Jack in countless battles, Kane introduces a new dimension that complicates his usual calculations. Victor thrives on predictability, on knowing his rivals' limits, and exploiting their weaknesses. But a partnership between Jack and Kane is inherently unpredictable, capable of undermining even Victor's most carefully laid plans. The potential defeat for Victor is not merely a matter of business loss. Over the years, his victories have reinforced his reputation as an indomitable force in Genoa City, commanding respect, fear, and loyalty. To suffer a defeat at this juncture would be a blow not only to his empire but to his legacy. Fans have long been drawn to the drama of Victor's near-invincibility, but the allure of seeing him challenged in ways that test his ingenuity is irresistible. Moreover, Jill's involvement adds a personal layer to the conflict. Her motivations are rarely purely altruistic. She is driven by a combination of family loyalty, personal ambition, and a desire to shape the corporate landscape according to her vision. Convincing Kane to join Jack would demonstrate her influence, strategic mind, and ability to manipulate key players for maximum effect. This storyline also underscores the interconnectedness of Genoa City's major families. Victor, Jack, Jill, and Kane are all entwined in a complex web of business deals, personal vendettas, and family dynamics. A move as bold as a Kane-Jack alliance would inevitably reverberate across Newman Enterprises and Jabot, affecting not only the principal players but also those caught in the crossfire: Adam, Ashley, Nicholas, Victoria, and even Nikki. The emotional stakes are as high as the corporate ones. Victor's children, who have long struggled to assert their own identities in the shadow of their father's dominance, would be watching the unfolding drama closely. Any perceived weakness or miscalculation by Victor could embolden them, lead to new alliances, and create additional tension within the Newman family. For Jack, the alliance with Kane could represent the long-awaited chance to claim a meaningful victory over Victor. Historically, Jack has often been positioned as the underdog, capable of clever maneuvers but ultimately foiled by Victor's relentless cunning. With Kane's support, Jack would gain not only strategic assistance but also the moral and emotional reinforcement needed to challenge Victor in a way that has been nearly impossible for decades. Kane's motivations are equally compelling. As a character with a history of personal missteps, he is constantly seeking redemption and validation. A partnership with Jack could serve as both a strategic and personal victory, allowing him to reclaim a sense of purpose and establish himself as a key player in Genoa City's corporate arena. The interplay of trust, loyalty, and potential betrayal adds a delicious tension to the storyline. Viewers will be left guessing whether Kane will fully commit to the alliance, whether Jack can trust him completely, and whether Jill's influence will be enough to ensure a coordinated strategy against Victor. The unpredictability is what makes soaps like The Young and the Restless so compelling. The combination of personal emotion and business intrigue ensures that even seasoned fans cannot fully anticipate the outcome. Victor, of course, is unlikely to be passive in the face of such a challenge. His intelligence, resourcefulness, and ruthless drive for victory mean that any attempt to undermine him will be met with fierce resistance. Fans can expect a series of counter-strategies, covert maneuvers, and high-stakes gambles that will test the limits of Jack, Kane, and Jill's alliance. The battle will not be confined to boardrooms alone. Personal relationships, hidden agendas, and past grievances will all play critical roles in shaping the outcome. The potential defeat of Victor Newman, long considered nearly invincible, represents more than a mere plot twist. It is an opportunity for the show to explore themes of power, loyalty, and the consequences of ambition. It challenges long-held assumptions about who can control Genoa City and highlights the evolving dynamics between its central families. Moreover, the storyline provides a platform to examine how alliances are formed and maintained, the risks inherent in partnership, and the moral compromises that characters are willing to make in pursuit of victory. As spoilers continue to tease this high-stakes scenario, fans are left on the edge of their seats. Will Jill's influence be enough to sway Kane? Can Jack and Kane coordinate effectively to overcome Victor's strategic genius? And if Victor does suffer defeat, what will that mean for the future of Newman Enterprises, Jabot, and the intricate web of relationships that define Genoa City? The answers to these questions promise to deliver some of the most compelling drama the show has seen in recent years. In addition to the corporate intrigue, the emotional resonance of the storyline cannot be overstated. Fans will witness characters navigating loyalty, trust, ambition, and the sometimes